What is up, everybody? My name is Christain Conner and I am with the eXp Elite Builders. We're doing a really quick, nice and easy home sellers workshop today. It's going to be super fast. It's going to be everything that you need to know to sell your home this year, 2025. So let's jump straight into it. Not going to be any blibber blabber, just go straight into it. Let's go. What we're going to cover today is, what do you do? First thing you're going to do, you're going to prepare to sell it, you're going to list and market the home, you're going to receive and negotiate offers, you're going to go under contract, and you're going to close, what you need to do after the sale, and then tips for maximizing your home sale overall. Number one, preparing to sell, deciding to sell. You need to determine the reason that you are selling. Are you downsizing? Are you relocating? Are you upgrading? What's your financial goal? Assess if it's the best time to sell based on market conditions. Understand the costs associated with selling, such as commissions, repairs, moving expenses. You got to know all the line items, and a great agent and a great professional will define everything for you. Choose a realtor if you're going to choose a realtor. Biggest thing is that you do choose. You don't want to just flop around. You want to make a decision. You want to be confident on your decision with that realtor. You need to choose someone who's experienced and who knows your local market. You need to understand their entire marketing plan, what you're getting for how much you're paying them, and that they've been successful in the past. Every good agent will help you with pricing, marketing, negotiations, and paperwork, and then everything else from there varies. You need to really understand the market condition. It's really important. So if it's a seller's market, that means you've got low inventory and high demand. If it's a buyer's market, you've got high inventory and low demand. And a neutral market is just a happy 50-50. So you need to make sure you price your home correctly. I prepare something called a comparative market analysis, a CMA, from a realtor or a professional in the industry. Pricing depends based on that. So if your house is a 3-bedroom, 2-bathroom, 1,600 square feet, and your neighbor's house down the street is exactly the same and it sold for $300,000, there's a high chance that your house will sell for $300,000. If it's exactly the same, of course. No house is exactly the same, but you can get a pretty good guesstimate. The CMA will give you a pretty precise range, but it's not going to give you an exact price, of course, because it's only worth what someone's willing to pay for it. You need to consider things like recent sales, market trends, and unique home features. So if your neighbor's house that sold for $300,000 has a pool and yours doesn't, then their house is obviously worth more. But if their house has a pool but it's not updated, but your house doesn't have a pool and it is updated, then your house might be worth more, just depending on the updates, you know? So it's crazy. You need to really have a professional take a look. Preparing the home for sale. You need to declutter and depersonalize. You need a deep clean. If there's any repairs and upgrades, I would get a professional opinion on doing them first, because you may not get a good return on investment for that, and then it's kind of pointless. Curb appeal, you never get a second chance to make a first impression, so it's really important that if you're going for that highest value possible, that it's literally everything's perfect. And staging, either virtual or real staging, I'd consult with a professional about that, depending on what exactly furniture you already have versus if it's vacant and you need to stage it. So it just depends on what you're really shooting for. Sometimes staging is super important in a market, and sometimes it's not super important in the market. So you need to really understand all the aspects of everything. We've got listing and marketing the home. You're going to need professional photography and videography. Professional photos make such a big difference, and professional videos right now are making a huge difference in the sale. Selling things either quickly or for the highest price possible. Where will your home be marketed? If you're listing with an agent, it's going to all the MLSs. If it's for sale by owner, you'll just be on Zillow or just on Realtor, whichever you pay for. Whenever you do list with an agent, it goes on the MLS, right? Which is kind of like the big agent portal. But whenever you post it on there, it also goes on Zillow, Redfin, Realtor.com, etc., etc. Social media ads, depending on who you list with and how you do it, your property will be seen kind of like a Facebook ad or an Instagram ad or a YouTube ad, depending on how your professional does it. And then there's going to be some direct mail, and if you choose to do open houses, direct mail is just like postcards and letters going to all your neighbors and people. Direct mail is just, flyers, postcards going to your neighbors and other people who have buyers. Realtor network, it depends obviously on your realtor, but you'll have a network that your house will go to. You need to have a really strong listing description. Realistically, that doesn't change how beautiful the home looks in person or how beautiful the home looks in the pictures, but a good description can't hurt. And open houses. Sometimes open houses working in a market, and sometimes they're not really working in a market. It just depends. The next step is going to be receiving and negotiating offers. Buyers, like the most important things in an offer are obviously the purchase price, contingencies, earnest money, closing timeline, you need to make sure you're reviewing all the pros and cons of every offer. And different contingencies. There's an inspection contingency, which is standard in pretty much every contract. They're going to have an inspection, make sure everything's up to par, and then sometimes ask for repairs. Financing contingency, whether or not the mortgage for the buyer gets approved. An appraisal contingency, which is the lender making sure the house is worth what the buyer is paying for it. So it's like the lender's own inspection, but it's not as harsh as an inspection. They pretty much just walk in, make sure the floor is still there, make sure the wall's still there, the little thing, or the big thing, sorry. And negotiating. Negotiating's super important. Don't give up. And don't just focus on the higher offer. You need to really consider all terms, and your agent or your professional or yourself will negotiate everything. If the offers are really bad, considering everything, then maybe your price is a little too high, or maybe you need to offer some better incentives. If you're listed for $200,000 and all your offers at $100,000, you might be kind of overpriced. Or if you're at $150,000 and all your offers at $200,000, you might be underpriced, which not the worst thing ever. You'll have a multiple offer situation, but you might not getting what you really could be. Now, after you accept an offer, obviously you're under contract and beginning to move towards closing. Once the offer is accepted, the home goes under contract, becomes active under contract or pending. Buyer's going to schedule the inspection, and then after the inspection, there will be the appraisal, and then they're going to finalize financing. The home inspection, obviously, as a professional comes in and assesses the home's condition. The buyer can request repairs based on that, and you can accept them, deny repairs, or kind of meet somewhere in the middle. The appraisal process, if the home appraises below the agreed price, options can be, the buyer. So like, for example, so say you're selling a house and you are under contract with a buyer at $200,000. If the home appraiser comes in and says your house is only worth $150,000, then guess what? They're only going to lend on $150,000, which means either one, the buyer has to come up with that difference in cash, the seller lowers the price all the way down, or the contract fizzles out. Pretty much it. And the final steps before closing, the buyer's going to do a final walkthrough, make sure everything's still good to go. Title company ensures that the title is clear, no extra liens or disputes that nobody knows about, and make sure everything's good to close. And the mortgage lender issues a clear to close, and that's it. Closing the sale. So what actually happens on closing day? The buyer wires the funds or brings a cashier's check. Both parties sign the closing documents, which is the deed, payoff, etc., etc. The title company records the sale and transfers ownership, and you receive the sale proceeds, minus closing costs, of course, realtor fees, etc. We're going to go over a couple of costs and fees for sellers. So obviously the biggest one is typically real estate commissions. Most sellers agents charge 3%. Everything is negotiable. 100% of everything is negotiable. So if you have a listing agent, they don't do a good job, you're like, you don't deserve 3%. Or if you have a buyer's agent who didn't bring you a good offer, you don't deserve 3%. Everything is negotiable. Don't always settle for what someone's top dollar offer is. Post something on Facebook for $300. Are you really going to get $300? So some agents will be negotiable with their price. The next is title insurance, and it varies on the actual final sales price. The property taxes, so the seller, if you sold it the first day of the year, you wouldn't really have any property taxes to pay, but if you sold it in December, that means you need to pay property taxes all the way up to December. If there's any HOA fees, any HOA transfer fees, or transfer fees for that section, or any unpaid bills. Those are things that all have to be settled at closing. The actual title company fee is typically like $550 for the seller and $550 for the buyer. That's normally split, so it's like $1,000 in a split typically. And then another closing cost is there's an attorney fee and a filing fee, and it's like $200. But your agent or title company will be able to tell you exactly how much it's going to cost at closing. And there's going to be a couple of things you need to do post-closing, which is obviously moving. If you're still living there, you need to figure out where you're going. So make sure you're planning your move in advance, especially if you're buying a new home. You need to hire professional movers, or maybe you're going to rent a truck and do it yourself, or maybe you got a trailer. Anyway, you got this. Your professional, in my opinion, should help with that, but hey, that's just me. Make sure you cancel your utilities on the day of closing or the day after closing, whatever you feel comfortable with. and make sure you're forwarding all of your new mail to your new address. I'd start that process as soon as possible. We're going to go over capital gains tax real quick. If you've lived in the home for 2 years out of the last 5 years, you might qualify for, if you're single, a $250,000 tax-free gain. So if you have a $300,000 house and you've lived there for 2 years, you only have to pay taxes on $50,000 of that. If you're married, you get up to $500,000. So if you're married and you sell a $550,000 house and you've lived there for the last 2 years, you only have to pay taxes on $50,000 of that $550,000, which can be a crap ton of money. If you're selling a rental or an investment property and you haven't lived there for 2 out of the last 5 years, you'll probably have to pay capital gains tax unless you defer it and go 1031 exchange, something like that. Now we're going to go over some tips for maximizing your home sale. Time it. Typically, spring and summer markets have more buyers, but in the winter market, there's less people selling their home. So it's 50-50. In my opinion, it's always a good time to be on the market as long as you know what you're in for. I always recommend fixing major issues if you're able to. If you're looking for an as-is sale, that is totally okay. But if you can, I would shoot it, especially if you need to sell it pretty quick at top dollar. Be flexible for showings. The more buyers who see it, the faster it sells. It's kind of the bottom line. You gotta sweeten the deal sometimes, especially right now. So, offering closing cost assistance or including appliances can go a long way for a buyer. My biggest problem right now in today's market is people being realistic. You need to truly understand and be 100% okay whenever your number isn't what the market can bear. If you don't have to move and you want this number, but the market's only here, but you don't have to move, then don't move and don't waste your time trying to get this number when the market's only here. That's the bottom line. You always need to stay realistic with your home sale, but also the first buyer might not be the right buyer. The second buyer might not be the right buyer. So stay realistic and stay confident. And finally, I just want to say thank you so much for spending your time with me. I can't wait to chat with you soon. If you have any questions about, selling your home, buying a home, you're in the middle of the process right now, just shoot me a call, shoot me a text. My phone number is 512-466-6990. Just say, hey Christian, I watched your video, I've got this question, you didn't answer this question. Drop it in the comment below even, I'll respond to the comment, or if you feel more comfortable calling me, that's okay too. I'm always available. I do have business hours, but worst case, I'll get back to you the next day. And thank you so much again. I really appreciate your time. I appreciate you, using this breath to watch this video. And if there's anything I didn't answer, drop it in the comment, shoot me a text, shoot me a call. And if you need help selling your home in the greater Austin area, that's where I work, which kind of spans from Dripping Springs, Wimberley area, all the way to Bastrop and Smithville, and all the way down to San Antonio, actually, which includes Kyle, Buda. I work up in Belton, too, if you know where Belton is. Kind of Belton, Temple, Round Rock, Georgetown, all the way there. If you're confused about if I work in your area, just shoot me a text. And if I don't work in your area, but you need me to connect you with an amazing realtor, I have a great database of realtors who are fantastic. And if you're not looking for a realtor, you need an investor to buy your house because it's in a dilapidated shape or something, I have a great investor database too, and can get you a top dollar offer in cash as well. Or if you're in low equity situation, but you really need to sell, we do sub 2 as well, which is subject to. And that's pretty much that. But thank you again so much for watching. I hope to talk to you soon. If there's anything else I can do for you, please let me know. But that's all for today. Thank you so much. Talk to you soon. I just want to say thank you again so much for watching. My name is Christain Conner with the EXP Elite Builders. But yeah, that is everything, and I hope you have an amazing day. I just want to say thank you so much again for watching. Again, my name is Christain Conner with the EXP Elite Builders in the Central Texas area. If there is anything else I can do for you, let me know. But that is all for today. Thank you so much. Bye.